just trying to change the world here, people.
Oh, really?
The Facebooking and the tweeting and the Instagramming, all that would not exist without our understanding of science.
So it's amazing how you took that as an insult. You mean true for you is different from true for anybody else?
Yeah, absolutely, because I can't
prove either got to be true or not.
I can't, no.
Well, hello, ORly Radio listeners, and welcome to show, I think we're an even number. Let's see.
48.
Yes, show 48 for Friday, March 6th, 2015. Time is marching on. I can't believe it's already March. I'm your faithful host, Andy Cowan, and combined with the powers of David O'Connor.
Good to be here. Good to be here.
Everyone else is doing this life thing.
They've got lives?
It gets in the way.
How boring.
I don't know. Actually, that does bring me to a little bit of errata, not from last week, but for next week. Next week, since Michael and his lovely fiancée Jessica, who has been joining us on the show as of late, they're going to get hitched on Saturday. However, they're having the rehearsal on Friday, and I happen to be their officiant. So guess who's not going to be here for Friday to do the show?
That guy.
Me. Me. I'm not going to be here to do the recording and the thing with the stuff and the tech and all that. So what I'm going to try to do is do at least a show probably on Wednesday. Maybe do a quick one. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. But it may be the first show that we just have to skip a week. No. I know, it's like, but we've almost made it a full year, a full consecutive year, just week after week. But you know,
you can't break that trend now.
I'm going to try not to. And also, it'll allow me to kind of feel out doing the Wednesday thing, because I would like to break the show into two, and well, kind of get them cranked down a little bit as far as the length. You know, though the 3-hour shows are fun, they're 3-hour shows.
It's hard to watch anything for 3 hours. People don't watch movies that are 3 hours long.
No. Well, fortunately, and I really hope that people out there are doing this, I don't know how we did it, but we didn't take any bathroom breaks during that. That was just straight. End to end. I don't know how we did it, but at least you out there in listener land, if you've downloaded the show at least, you can hit the pause button.
Yeah.
That's a great thing. Or if, you have us on whatever handheld or whatever you're using, then of course you can just, take us with you. Because I don't care. That's fine. But I believe that's enough digressing. And now we're into the news. Scientists, for the first time ever, have been able to take a picture of light as a particle and as a wave at the same time, which is a little bit mind-blowing. The fact that light even exists as both at the same time was enough to earn Albert Einstein a Nobel Prize. So it's kind of a big deal. But the thing is, we could only take a picture, or at least observe it, as either or. Couldn't see it both at the same time. Until now. They had to trick it. It was really kind of funny. There's a video. If you go out to our webpage at ORlyRadio.com, ORlyRadio.com, and check the show notes for this episode, phys.org has a nice article on it, and they've got a little video that the scientists at EPFL, which is it's Swiss, so I'm going to butcher it now. The École Polytechnique Fédérale de Lausanne. Yeah, I believe I completely butchered that. But it's a university in Switzerland. Great scientists out there. EPFL.ch if you actually want to go and check out their website. But they used a really big microscope to look at insanely small quantum reactions as they bombarded a standing wave trapped on an electrode of light with other electrons to get it to do its thing, to react with that so they could actually take the picture of the light itself. Mind blown, really.
Yeah.
Of course,
We're taking pictures of the things that make up things.
yeah. It's amazing. As David, we just watched this before we recorded here, and David pointed out that the real story here is that we can do this.
Yeah, we can take pictures of things on the what scale are we even working at here? What what size? They're taking pictures of electrons and photons.
Subatomic
Scale things we can photograph.
Yeah, we're using things that make up atoms to excite other things that are made up of other things that would make up atoms. You know, we used electrons to excite the photons of light so that we could actually take the picture of what those photons were doing.
We made them smile for the camera.
It's very small. Yeah, it's kind of ridiculous. Actually, no, it's way further than kind of ridiculous.
It's way flippin' ridiculous.
It's amazeballs. So, welcome to science!
Science is crazy.
It's good stuff. It's really good stuff. So, staying in science, in fact, I think we'll just run straight down through the notes, which we don't usually do. Usually we bounce around a little bit. But today, since there's just the two of us, you know what? We're just going to go straight through them.
Give it the hammer.
Yeah, that's right. So, I'm a foodie. I love food. Okay? You don't get to be my stature without loving food. And I do like some Indian food. The naan bread and all the curries and just all of that flavor it's something I really enjoy having, and I really wish there were some more Indian joints over here in River City, Florida here. Sad, but there aren't. So I have to go far away to get it. But there's a reason I will make that trip. It's because it's so delicious. So delicious, in fact, that scientists wanted to figure out why it's so delicious. So researchers, it's amazing what you can get a grant for these days. Researchers have data crunched 2,500 recipes and found the secret.
Which is?
Well, got heavy doses of cardamom, cayenne, tamarind, and a few other flavors. Obviously, that there are some, like pillars of flavor that Indian cuisine is really popular for. It's molecular. Popular food pairings in this part of the world combine ingredients that share like flavors, which food chemists have broken down into their molecular parts, precise chemical compounds that, when combined, give off a distinct taste. Most of the compounds have scientific names, though one of the simpler compounds is acetal, A-C-E-T-A-L. I'm terrible with pronunciation, so look it up yourself. Which, as the food chemist George Burdock has written is, quote, refreshing, pleasant, and has a fruity green odor, and can be found in whiskey, apple juice, orange juice, and raw beets. On average, there are just over 50 flavor compounds in food.
In each ingredient.
In each ingredient?
In each ingredient.
Is that what?
There are just over 50 flavor compounds in each food ingredient.
Wow. That's what I get for scrolling down too fast. It's like I'm trying to cut to the chase here.
See you scrolling.
Yeah. Yep. They hating. Scrolling. Researchers at the Indian Institute for Technology in Jodhpur.
Jodhpur?
Yeah. I'm terribly sorry for butchering your language. Not really. I'm just going to keep going. They crunched data on several thousand recipes, of course, from popular online recipe sites. Tarladala.com. ORLAL.com. Apparently, they got a lot of Indian recipes out there. They broke down each dish into its ingredients and then compared how often and heavily ingredients share flavor compounds. Not too often, apparently. It's science. There's chemistry involved here. It's heavy chemistry. They even have formulas down here for some of the computation of flavor sharing for whatever recipe is. So there's like no, it's all nomenclature. You're not going to understand it until you look at it. It's kind of funny.
Maybe not even then.
Yeah. The spices is uniquely placed in its recipe to shape the flavor sharing pattern with the rest of the ingredients. Ooh. I really think that Alden Brown should have probably been in on this one. What a little food science here.
Seriously.
The takeaway for chefs is that part of what makes Indian food so appealing is the way flavors rub up against each other.
Back it up, girl.
Oh, yeah. The cuisine is complicated. No doubt the average Indian dish, after all, contains at least 7 ingredients, and the total number of ingredients observed by the researchers amounted to almost 200 out of the roughly 381 observed around the world. But all those ingredients, and the spices especially, are all uniquely important because in any single dish, each one brings a unique flavor. So I guess that really the takeaway here is just Indian food's prepared better. It is a better formulation.
They've figured it out, man.
They've cracked the code, the food code, and it's delicious. And
It is delicious.
I think I'm gonna see if I can locate some Indian food this weekend. I think I need it now. I must have some naan bread. Because naan bread is nom 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 bread.
Nom bread is awesome.
Yes. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, go find an Indian restaurant and taste the flavor rainbow. It's delicious.
You won't be sorry.
No.
Unless you get what they consider to be hot.
There are mild dishes. Just if you need to go that way, you can.
You should start on the low end of the Indian heat scale. Because maybe you grew up and became an adult and then you decided that you liked hot wings. But it's kind of like Batman versus Bane. You were only adopted by the heat. They were born into it.
This is true. That's very true. So, staying in food. The famous line from The Simpsons might actually be accurate. If a cow ever got the chance, he'd eat you and everyone you ever cared about. Because apparently, herbivores are cheating on their diets, and they're eating meat. There was a...
Better tell PETA.
Yeah, I don't know if it would actually help. Scientists using field cameras caught deer preying on nestling songbirds. But it wasn't just deer. There are other scientists around the world that have caught other things in the act. They were trying to track the songbirds themselves. So, yeah, I'll just read from the article. These supposed herbivores placidly ate living nestlings right out of the nest. And if you're thinking that it must be some mistake, that the deer were chewing their way through some vegetation and happened to get a mouthful of bird, think again. Up in Canada, a group of ornithologists were studying adult birds. In order to examine them closely, the researchers used mist nets. These nets, usually draped between trees, are designed to trap birds or bats gently, so they can be collected, studied, and released. When a herd of deer came by, the deer walked up to the struggling birds and ate them alive right out of the nets. And here's where we expound on this, because we can't just blame the white-tailed deer. No. This behavior is not limited to one species on one or even on one continent. Last year, a farmer in India made a video of a cow eating a recently hatched chick. Some scientists speculate that herbivores turn to meat when they're not getting enough nutrients in their diet. It's possible. A biologist in Scotland documented red deer eating seabird chicks and concluded it was how they got their dietary boost necessary to grow their antlers. This same researcher also documented sheep eating the heads and legs off of seabird chicks. And then there's another cow in India which reportedly ate 50 chickens. There may be a specific need that drives herbivores to occasionally eat meat. It's also possible, experts say, that eating meat, when it can't run away from them, is just something supposed herbivores do. And we're finally getting wise to it. And
I'm going to go with sea PETA. Meat's so good even the true herbivores are after it.
Yeah. It seems to just be natural. Amazingly enough, it may just be natural. Let's see, what's next? Oh, hey, David, you spotted this one. Go ahead with it. Go ahead with that.
I'm going to lead this one with the title of the article, which caught my eye. And of course Comcast subscribers can't stream HBO Go on the PS4. Of course.
Of course.
Why would they be able to stream something on the device which has the capability to stream this service via other internet service providers, just not on Comcast? And this really goes back to the whole net neutrality thing, where your provider is basically fucking you. It's fucking competition, and it's monopolizing the environment for the sole purpose of charging more for less service.
Yes. Let's see. Quoting one of the Comcast reps, with every new website, device, or player we authenticate, we need to work through technical integration and customer service, which takes time and resources. Moving forward, we will continue to prioritize as we partner with various players. TechCrunch continued with, apparently Comcast does not see the PS4 as a priority, even though Sony has sold more than 20 million units since its launch.
That and their explanation is total bullshit.
It is.
Because the only thing that Comcast has to do is make the road between source and destination. That's all they have to do. That's the only thing that they're responsible for. It's like the highway patrol saying, we'd love to allow a new motor company to come here and roll on our roads, but we have to be involved in their manufacture. No, you don't. You just have to make the roads.
Yeah.
They'll manufacture their own cars, and people will buy them and use them.
Yeah, and so far this is just Comcast, because all the other players are apparently just letting HBO do its thing, like as if it was a content provider.
To read between the lines of we need to work through technical integration and customer service, that is, we need to find a way to charge HBO additional money for doing this.
Yeah, I think
that we can make it less profitable for them, so they won't take their programming off of our stations.
Yeah. And as TechCrunch succinctly put it at the end, this is why we can't have nice things. Pretty damn true.
Yeah.
Speaking of why we can't have nice things, let's talk about the Black Death. I think we haven't talked about that in some time, really. But apparently, there's been some new research, and apparently the rats were not to blame as the carriers of the pestilence-ridden fleas. Apparently it was gerbils.
Fucking gerbils, man.
After nearly 8 centuries of accusing the black rat for spreading the bubonic plague, scientists say they have compelling evidence to exonerate the much-maligned rodent. In the process, they've identified a new culprit, gerbils. It's always the cute ones you have to watch out for, isn't it? According to the study published in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Science, climate data dating back to the 14th century contradicts the commonly held notion that European plague outbreaks were caused by a reservoir of disease carrying fleas hosted by the continent's rat population. Quote, "For this, you would need warm summers with not too much participation," Niles Christian Stenth, the author of the study, told the BBC. "And we have looked at the broad spectrum of climatic indices, and there is no relationship between the appearance of plague and the weather." So instead, the fearsome Black Death, as the epidemic was known, seemed curiously tied to the climate in Asia. Analysis of 15 tree ring records, which documented yearly weather conditions, show that Europe always experienced plague outbreaks after Central Asia had a wet spring followed by a warm summer. Terrible conditions for black rats, but ideal for Asia's gerbil population. Those sneaky rodents and their bacteria-ridden fleas, when they hitched a ride to Europe via the Silk Road, arriving on the continent a few years later to wreak epidemiological havoc. So there you have it.
Friggin' gerbils, man.
It's the gerbils. Cute little things, but well, it's really the fleas. We know it's the fleas, but the carrier of the fleas, freaking little gerbils. Yeah, I've never actually considered household pests being gerbils. I know I should have, because they're just little rodents.
Yeah.
What they do, they chew things and then burrow. You know, guinea pigs, hamsters, gerbils, giant rats.
Closely related. ROUSs.
Rodents of unusual size? I don't believe in them.
You will.
Okay, that's all for science. And now let's wander over to humanities, religion, politics. Two Ferguson police officers quit. Court clerk fired after justice report. David, you found this one again.
I did find this one. Just to go back to Ferguson for a little bit.
So nice to visit, but I wouldn't want to live there.
Right. So there was a Justice Department investigation into the Ferguson Police Department, which resulted in the two officers quit. One of them's a police captain, the other one's a sergeant. They resigned. They were allowed to resign, basically. And they'll probably go to another police department somewhere.
Yeah.
Or they'll be back. Who knows? But they also fired a clerk. And the damning evidence that forced all these people out were racist emails. There was one in October 2011 that showed a photo of bare-chested dancing women, apparently in Africa, with the caption "Michelle Obama's high school reunion."
Wow. There's
another one. Described a man trying to put his dogs on welfare because the canines were mixed in color, unemployed, lazy, can't speak English, and have no clue who their daddies are.
Wow, jeez.
Yeah. There was another one that compared Obama to a chimpanzee.
That's just
the Ferguson Police Department's not having a good time right now, and nor should they be having a good time right now, based on the pictures and what occurred during the entire Michael Brown fiasco, that 90 days of hell, and tear gassing the population, tear gassing the press, suppressing freedom of the press. The statistically provable institutionalized oppression that they have going on in that area, it's a mess. So when a reporter asked if that included dismantling the police force, talking to Holder replied, "If that's what's necessary, then we are prepared to do that." So they're gonna fix Ferguson PD if they have to tear it all down and build it all back up.
They will probably have to.
They will almost assuredly have to, because a problem that is that widespread honestly goes even beyond the Ferguson PD and even goes beyond the state's police head of police. That goes all the way up to the governor, who was also very condescending and very belittling of the townspeople during that time. Rather than he did not, trouble himself with the opportunity to stand with the community and say, this is a terrible thing, but we need to come together. It was, get your shit together because the world's watching us and you're embarrassing me.
Yeah, this article was actually updated about an hour ago. President Obama said Friday that although he doesn't think the abuse of power in Ferguson is typical of America, there are individuals and possibly whole departments in American law enforcement that may struggle to prevent prejudice in their ranks. Quote, I don't think that this is typical of what happens across the country, but it's not an isolated incident. End quote. Obama said in an early morning interview on SiriusXM's Urban View channel. I think, quote, I think there are circumstances in which trust between communities and law enforcement has broken down, and individuals or entire departments may not have the training or the accountability to make sure they are protecting, serving all the people, and not just some, end quote.
Well, the state of police force as it is right now, I dare say, serves none of the people. In the current form, that they have to get funding by issuing tickets to the population, necessarily causing them to view the population differently than if they were actually well funded, and they did not have to write tickets. And I say that have to write tickets in order to make their funding goals for the
year. And
that should
revenue source. And
I understand that they're trying to find a metric to justify the existence of the police force, and it's a difficult thing necessarily to justify that expense for crimes low. Why do we need a police force? What are they doing? Oh, well, they're not really arresting people. Maybe we should lay some of them off. That's a conversation that comes up, and I get that that's a tough one to answer. So they have to inflate their ticket writing and their arrests and stuff like that. But by doing so, they're creating police state. Yeah. I get how it happens. We just need to figure out how to fix that portion of ourselves. Perhaps the understanding of the state budget is this. We spend this much on police force, and that's a percentage of the overall thing, and it just is the way it is.
Well, I would say that the proceeds from tickets would not go to the department. Period. If you're paying a ticket, it does not go back to the police department. Mm-hmm. It would go into like a city, either a legal fund, or into like public works, repairing the roads, something like that.
Or some form of insurance for damages that occur as a result of criminal activity. Yeah,
some legal fund. I would say either or both, depending on what's needed. But it's too indicative of what we have wrong with this country to have the money. Again, we can follow the money here, and the money corrupts. Because the organization that is getting the money is also the one that has to, hand out the tickets to enforce the laws or make up new ones, as the case may be in certain circumstances. So, yeah, certainly it's in their best interest to keep their revenue high.
Yes.
And that's just ridiculous. They shouldn't be able to hold on to that money. They shouldn't have to have a monetary incentive to harass people.
Yeah.
Just
for the sake of having better equipment.
Yeah, just do your job. Enforce the law as it is. You don't have to go above and beyond that. You don't have to do broken window policing.
No.
You don't have to do these things. Just uphold the law. Serve and protect.
Serve and protect. There's a neat picture that was going around. I'll try to find it and add it to the notes. so that people can see that. But it was the difference between police cars in the United States and Europe. And in Europe, they have, you know, bright yellow stickers with the safety striping on them, and they're painted neon green, so that if there's a citizen in trouble, they can flag down a police car and say, "Hey, come help me out."
Like emergency vehicles here in the United States are painted these horrendous colors because they're the most visible thing out there.
Yes.
Yeah.
The police in Europe are considered emergency vehicles. They are there in the event that you have an emergency, and you need somebody to protect you. That's what our police forces are supposed to be for. Not to harass you, but for your protection of your person, the protection of your property, and the safety of the overall population as a whole. And the other part of that picture is what police cars look like here. You know, the lights are very low to the top of the car, could easily misinterpreted for a roof rack. The colors are not such that you can understand that is a police car if you're looking at it from the front.
They're designed to sneak up on their prey.
Yeah. And we should not look at our police forces as predators who are out to get us.
And unfortunately,
that's how, when you're driving down the road, that's what it fucking feels like.
Yeah. Why have speed traps? You know, why hunt in packs as they do? Because
why aren't the police lined up at the bars offering free rides home to people who are exiting drinking establishments?
That would be an amazing service.
It would be an amazing service. You want to stop drunk driving accidents?
Don't let the drunk people drive. Make it easy.
Make it easy. Make it easy for the population to follow the law.
Mm-hmm. And that's the same thing with like software and music piracy. If you make it easy for people to get it, they won't pirate it.
Yeah. Yeah, but by adding all this shit onto the front of their friggin' DVDs, it's like, God, I wish I had the pirated version half the time, because it's like,
yeah,
you know, we watched the first 2 seasons of Game of Thrones, and on the first disc, they have, no bullshit, a 3-minute commercial that you cannot skip.
Yeah.
And so I would turn that fucker on and walk away until all of that bullshit was done. And meanwhile, I'm thinking, man, I just wanted to watch the episode.
Yeah. Not only do you have to pay for the DVD, you are also forced to watch commercials, whether you like it or not.
Yeah.
That's not the way to sell media.
Yeah. And I think that's...
I shouldn't get bloatware on my movie.
Yeah. Well, that's also one of the things that Hulu doesn't understand.
Well, that's because they're owned by the major broadcasters anyway.
They're owned by the major broadcasters, and I understand what they're trying to do, but when I'm watching a program that's 5 years old, right, I don't want to watch commercials with it again. When I'm paying for a service to watch it.
Yeah. Are you paying for Hulu?
No.
Hulu Plus?
Nope. That's why I won't pay for it.
That's right, because they put the commercials in regardless.
They embed the commercials whether you pay for the service or not.
Yeah, I think there's like maybe less.
I pay for Netflix because there's no commercials. I will not pay for an additional service so that I can have a more classical TV viewing experience with commercials.
Yeah, I'm with you on that.
On programming that is multi-years old. If it's this season that you're offering, okay, I'll watch the commercials. But when it's something that's way back in the Wayback Machine, hell no. Fuck off.
Yeah, it's just ridiculous. Pathetic. Speaking of pathetic, Republican Representative Don Young out of Alaska, he made a really pointed remarks.
He told the truth.
Is that what he did?
He told us what he honestly thought.
Okay, well, yes, that's what he did. And, you know, no one can bury themselves better than the person, so I'm going to play the clip.
Now, you're probably not aware of all this. I'm just suggesting That's the problem with your department. You have a bunch of people within these agencies making decisions without consultation with you or consultation with the state or the native groups, which they're told to do under the law. They go like this to the state of Alaska, this to the Alaska Natives, and say, we are the Park Service.
Sir, I know that there
That
is...
79 letters that you just sent to people in that wolf deal, how many of you got wolves in your district? None. None. Not one. 79 people sent a letter concerning your deer herd, an elk herd, and want to say, don't delist, and by the way, thank you, delist the gray wolf. The gray wolf, in fact, is a predator which is killing the cloven hoof animals. And we got 79 congressmen sending you a letter, haven't got a damn wolf in their whole district. I'd like to introduce them in your district. I'd introduce your district, you wouldn't have a homeless problem anymore. I yield back.
I do believe that he just suggested that the homeless should be fed to the wolves in a roundabout way.
Or that if you had wolves, the wolves would take care of the homeless. Not necessarily in the Jungle Book version of taking care of the homeless.
No, not
orphaned child.
No Hakuna Matata there. No, definitely.
No, there's no happy endings to the story that he seems to be suggesting.
Nor did it sound like he wanted there to be a happy ending, other than to get rid of the homeless. Because they're a problem. He's conflating the problem with the homeless to the problem of reintroducing a larger population of gray wolves to the reservations and the reserve spaces in the United States to call the herds.
Of homeless people.
It's been done, and it actually changed the entire landscape because having too many deer, elk, etc., they overgraze the land, and then you get erosion, and it literally changes the topography of the environment. When you have the selective pressure of, say, a four-legged predator, like the wolf, gray wolf, they take care of some of those little pesky problems, and suddenly you have a more rich, diverse landscape. It's prettier, you know, from our perspective, but it also has more grass, which can support more life, different diversity of life, and it restores the entire environment. He doesn't care about that. He's worried that, well, I guess he's worried about, he specified cloven-hoofed animals, which is, it's a minor indicator of where he's coming from in his personal reference there. He would rather there be herds of cattle and livestock that can be used for financial benefit for his region, for his constituents. And of course he has to protect his constituents. I completely understand that. But he's short-sighted in environmental issues, which seems to be a constant and recurring problem with the Republican Party. Very short-sighted.
I think they can see about this far into the future. Right about here.
Yeah.
Right about that far.
You know, the hands on palm right there? Yeah.
Yeah. Just look into the blackness. And that's the level of detail and clarity that they get from, if I make this decision, what is the natural progression of events that will stem from it?
I will get rich. That's what's going to happen, because as long as
some guys said that I would.
Yeah, well,
I think is what it boils down to.
Yeah, they keep handing me these piles of cash, so it must be true.
Yeah, if I do this thing, then that makes this guy happy, and he gives me money. And outside of that, I don't know what happens, because I'm a politician. I'm not a scientist.
Yeah.
I don't listen to scientists. I don't seek out the counsel of scientists or researchers.
Now for those of you out there that are listening and haven't heard, there have been, I'd say, probably at least 20 members of Congress and the Senate, Republicans, that have specifically stated that, well, I don't know about that, I'm not a scientist. So what David was doing there, he was parroting what they have already said to condemn the things that they've done based on pure ignorance. I don't understand how people can overlook that so readily. When they make a scientific choice, a choice on science policy, that is clearly against what all the scientists have actually been saying, and then they feign ignorance, say, well, I don't know about that, I'm not a scientist. Maybe you should ask them. They're over there, laughing at you.
Yeah.
Wanting to throw things in your face. At least our commander-in-chief said, you know what, I'm not a scientist, but I know a lot of good ones, like NASA.
Yeah. The Pentagon considers climate change to be a national security issue.
Yeah.
But we can't get our senators and GOP to listen to any kind of sense or reason in this. And the only reason that could possibly be is because of financial interest to them personally for ignoring the science.
Oh yeah, it's completely just down to that.
It's literally broadcasting that I have sold you out, and I am not going to listen to counsel that is knowledgeable on such things that I am legislating. I am legislating based on private interests, not on public well-being. That's not what we fucking hired you for.
Not for the greater good in anything other than my pocketbook.
Yep.
That's the only greater good you're ever going to need.
I'm the greatest good you're ever going to get.
My evening's in danger. So short-sighted.
Where is my super suit?
Yes. Oh, Frozone. Okay. All right. So, if you're new to the show, many of our show notes end up being political. I did start with just, like a humanities and then like a religion kind of category. That's kind of a little spin-off there. And slowly, everything has added politics to it. So now we're in politics, humanities, and politics. Because it was supposed to be.
We politicize everything in this country, really. I mean,
everything is politicized.
there is, you can't talk about the color of the sky without somebody saying it's part of a liberal or conservative agenda. Well, the color of the sky is like that because of the air pollution. Whoa. I don't believe in air pollution.
Oh, God. Oh, I think I'm having an aneurysm again.
These are real conversations that you can have today because of the level of politics that we've embedded in everything in our culture.
I got to ask. When we started the pre-show today, you were wrapping up a trolling debate, I believe. What was that about?
Oh, I was embedded in two threads. One of them was on the Benghazi scandal, of which there is now 7 investigations disproving the current and ongoing continuous propagation of falsehoods by people listening to Fox News rather than addressing what reality is telling us is true. And then the other one had something to do with Obama.
Of course it did.
Of course it did.
56 times trying to repeal Obamacare.
Oh, America on the brink of losing constitutional form of government.
Oh, yeah, I have seen that one rattling around the internet like a...
No, we are not on the brink of losing a constitutional form of government. The constitutional form of government is, in fact, working exactly the way it was intended, such that one side or the other doesn't get every single thing that they want, because going in only one direction is not the best course for the country.
No. not really. Yeah.
So, the article referenced the Affordable Care Act, King versus Burwell case, which went before the Supreme Court, which is a bullshit case, claiming that the people who wrote the Affordable Care Act, who are all still alive and in power today to tell us exactly what they intended, did not actually intend for certain things to be so about the bill. And I think that we can probably get those people to testify before the Supreme Court and say this is what we intended, and the wording is incorrect.
Yeah, I think that would be
versus, well, they worded it this way. Fucking huge bill. They picked out 4 words of this entire bill, and they're saying, okay, well, they can't implement it in this way because that's not what was intended. Well, you can ask the fucking people who wrote it.
Why not? Why not ask them? Oh, wait, they might actually say something.
You might actually obtain the truth. They don't want the truth. They just want to destroy the ACA in whatever way possible. And honestly, this is a waste of time and money, and it's going to get tossed out because this has nothing to do with the constitutionality of the law. Absolutely nothing to do with the constitutionality of the law. And I don't understand why the Supreme Court has even agreed to hear this case, because they've already ruled that the law was constitutional. So...
Well, it's a different aspect of the law, I think. I think the current one that they're hearing arguments for this week is about the constitutionality of state versus federal exchanges and whether or not the federal government is able to somehow coerce the state level government into creating their own exchange, or conversely, with the outside pressure, having national companies, not local companies, basically pound the insurance industry to its knees within the state. It's really a poorly phrased argument.
It's a poorly phrased argument off of what could be something as simple as a typo or one missing word. You can change the statement with a slash and an additional word and solve all of the problems that they are trying to bring up with this case. And it basically boils down to the states that did not open exchanges and made the federal government open exchanges, they're arguing cannot get federal funds to lower the cost of health care, even though it's the federal government opening the exchanges and not the state, because the law says specifically exchanges opened by the state.
Right.
That's the entire rub. Is 4 words: exchanges opened by state.
Now, really, all I think they're doing. This isn't even, by the way, in the show notes. This is just something that this is one of our.
We're tangenting.
Famous.
Roll with it.
Yeah. With that, what I really think that they're inadvertently doing is pushing single-payer nationalized healthcare.
Yeah.
Whether they want it or not, because it becomes the most logical solution.
Yes.
It's like, oh, okay. So what we'll do is we'll change the law so the state can't operate exchanges, and everyone has to do the federal. Then you don't have to worry about paying for it.
Yes.
Better?
All of this stuff is funded essentially by the big insurance lobby, which just wants things to go back to the way they were, where they were increasing your insurance premiums by, I think it was 7 to 10% every year.
Yeah.
It was rough, and people forget that. But
and yet people still wanted those plans. You get to keep your plan, unless it's crap.
Yeah.
That's really what our fair president was saying. Yes, you can keep your plan as long as it meets the minimum standard. The ones that don't know, you're going to have to go away.
Yep.
Why do you want subpar insurance? if you're going to get insurance, get something that's actually going to help you when you need it. Don't get something that just looks like insurance until you actually need it.
Well, here's the other part of that. The insurance policies that he was referring to, he was assuming everybody would put their policies on the exchange. In order to offer a policy on the exchange, it had to meet those requirements. If the policy is not gotten through the exchange, they don't have to. And that's where people are getting fucked these days, is because corporations are going out and buying insurance, which they're paying honestly too much for what they're getting. I mean, Claire showed me the insurance policies from her work, and they were abysmal. I mean, it's like, God, I wish I still worked at a defense contractor I was with for a number of years, because they blew that away. Absolutely, hands down. There was no comparison.
Yeah, they've all gotten significantly worse.
And there's no reason why they had to get worse. They just did it to make this. They did it for the same reason that Comcast is trying to throttle Netflix. And they did it because you don't see that it's just Comcast throttling Netflix. You just see that your insurance premiums are shit, and they say, hey, there's nothing we can do, Affordable Care Act.
Yeah.
And you don't, there's thousands of pages of legalese to siphon through before you start to even begin to understand that, oh, this is what these assholes are really doing.
Yeah, that's so many things, though, these days.
But you're correct. If they beat down the Affordable Care Act, the next natural thing to occur is to open up Medicare and Medicaid such that the average person can buy into that, and that is lower cost of operation.
Especially with the Affordable Care Act.
Best return on investment that you can make for health insurance. It gives you more coverage for less money than anybody can even touch, and it operates at a profit margin.
Amazing. And but that profit margin, well, that's obviously somewhere in the margins, because they never want you to hear that.
Yeah, the problem with the Affordable Care Act is the Democrats they brought it to the middle of the road before they ever offered it. Rather than saying, let's just go to socialized health care. Let's offer a single payer option that everybody in the country can utilize.
Well, just to bring it back, that's because it's not actually the Democratic plan.
Yeah.
It was Romney Care out of Massachusetts.
Yep.
Bulked up so that it could be, done across the country. It's the Republican plan that we're actually using.
Yes. Yeah, we touched on this last week.
They're why pissed. We don't have an alternative, because we already used it.
Yeah, repeal and replace is going to be the Affordable Care Act with a new name. That is all it will be.
Yeah, that, or it's going to be expanded Medicare and Medicaid, which would be better for everyone.
It would be better.
Yeah.
It'll be much like what's going on in Chattanooga, Tennessee, which I should have brought this one up with the technology.
Oh, they're expanding their broadband?
Chattanooga, Tennessee has their own broadband provider. It's a municipal broadband.
They are the only municipality so far in the United States that has had, for a number of years, like 6 years, they've been running their own high-speed broadband, like 100 megabytes to the house.
Faster than that. It's 50 times faster than...
No. I'm not talking megabits. I'm saying megabytes.
Oh, yes.
They're doing full 100 to the houses. Feel free and correct us. Go ahead and give us a call, 470-222-6759. I'm sure that I've screwed that up somewhere, but I know that Chattanooga has been running their own ISP for quite some time.
And of course, publicly owned. And
all the other ISPs, the commercial ones, they hate it, and they're trying to get it outlawed.
It's full gigabyte or full gigabit. Yeah, it's gigabit internet connection for $70 a month.
Yeah. I could use some of that.
I'm paying $70 a month for 1/10 of that.
Yeah, wait, you're still paying $70 a month, and
I think. Oh no, it's probably like 50. I think it's 50.
So you downgraded your service, didn't you?
Yeah. I was paying $70 a month for. What would that be? About 40%. No, not even that.
I'm paying inside baseball action here. I'm paying $80 a month, and I'm getting like 80 down and 5 up. Probably 6 up, something like that.
I was at like 40/10.
Except it's still kind of pathetic,
given
what the technology is capable of doing.
Given what the internet backbones are capable of doing now, we're talking.
Well,
there's a lot of zeros on the end of that one.
The internet backbones they got to do some more backboning up, especially if they're going to start handling more gigabit traffic. That it's just going to be lots of bottlenecks, lots of quality of service checks all over the place. They're going to have to manage their networks a lot smarter than they are right now. But we digress for a long time. Back to politics and politics.
Oh, yes.
South Korea is shocked and shamed by attack on U.S. ambassador. This is another one that you found.
Yeah, so so Thursday night, apparently, or no, Thursday morning, happened at a breakfast function in central Seoul. Kim Ki-jong, whose assault saw Ambassador Mark Lippert hospitalized with a deep gash in his face that required 80 stitches, had received a suspended jail sentence in 2010 for hurling a rock at the Japanese ambassador. This guy does not like foreign envoys in his country.
Yeah, you can kind of start to see a trend there. Two does not a trend make, but it is kind of coincidental. Suspicious, perhaps?
Yeah. So he's the
fact that he had visited North Korea half a dozen times in the past has raised an inevitable red flag. But there's been nothing to suggest that he acted other than alone.
Yeah, he was wrestled to the floor, shouted his opposition to ongoing South Korea U.S. military exercises, which have raised tensions with North Korea. I don't think that there will ever be a time where the tensions are not at an extremely high rate with North Korea.
There was Kim Jong-un, the current presiding president of the necrocy known as North Korea. He went on the record basically threatening war with the United States. And ABC News, I believe, I'll have to go back through my links, but ABC News basically said that it was some like whiny tantrum, some blustering from North Korea, and basically like completely just like waved it off. It's like, yeah, we'll report it, but the language they used was totally dismissive.
Yeah, we're talking about a country that they built a town on their side of the line that can be seen from South Korea. And I'm going to say town with gigantic air quotes, because the buildings, when you look at them from the South Korea side, have no backs. So when you're looking at them from the North Korean side,
it's a movie.
They're shells. It's a movie set that they built, trying to put forth this image that things were great in North Korea. Come on over, join us.
Right, because that's a brilliant idea. Said no South Korean ever.
Yeah, and it's also interesting that they've got. I saw a special at on the line between North Korea and South Korea, and one of the things that the Marines brought up, they're like, take a look at how the North Koreans soldiers are standing on their side of the line. They're looking at each other. So if one of them is going to run, the other one can nab him.
Really?
Really. Versus, our side of the alliance where the Marines are giving them the death stare 24/7.
Yeah, because things aren't tense in that part of the world at all.
Not at all.
Not at all. Not at all. No. Actually, I heard on another news program today that relations between China and South Korea have taken another step where they're actually equalizing their currency and lowering tariffs in between the countries. So basically, it'd be like saying the United States and Canada, the loonie, their dollar, is equal to the American dollar. Period.
Yep.
It's exactly the same thing. So the current currency exchange rates in China are higher than South Korea. So effectively, this agreement raises the valuation of every single dollar in South Korea.
Wow.
Just incredibly pumping up their economy. And of course, that's also home to Samsung, one of our wonderful major distributors of both
amazing
enormous technology like ships and itty-bitty technology that we love so much like smartphones and everything in between. They even make cars.
They don't sell them here, though.
They do not sell them here. And also, that was actually not included in the tariffs. For some reason, cars are apparently a bigger deal. I'm not sure what the deal is with that. But there's some stuff going on. There's a lot of stuff going on, and I think also the United States and China are working on a similar reduced tariff, import-export tariff structure as well. So we may see a lot more global commerce happening. I don't think that's going to do anything for bringing jobs back to the United States.
No, those are gone.
Yeah, it's definitely going to bring it down, but most things that we really love here in the United States, like Motorola handsets. I love my Moto X, for instance. Also the iPhone, of course, designed here in the United States.
Built somewhere else.
Built everywhere else. That's just how it goes. So if we continue to maintain an intellectual stronghold, somehow, by possibly increasing education, maybe that's the only way to stay ahead in the world. As the global economy continues to blossom in ways that I don't think anybody had ever really thought before. Because now China is, yes, they're communist, yes, they're socialist, but they're also capitalists.
Oh yeah, and they are playing the game better than we are.
They are, yeah.
They really are, because we got our heads stuck so far up our ass talking about fucking ISIS, which is a non-issue.
Yeah.
Real in the big picture of things, they are not at all anywhere close to our top issue.
No, they have a burgeoning middle class based on all the things that we've been sending them to make.
Yep.
I mean, it's really an interesting kind of structure. It's not what you might think from like a 1984 style, communist era society. The people there, they could care less really about how the government is being run as long as they can make a better life for them and their families. And they're finding ways to do it. They will go to the cities, they will take better jobs, and they will live in, meager means and send a lot of money back home to raise up the entire class of their family. And then they'll go find another job, and they'll stepstone, just like we do here in the United States.
Except that our boys and girls at the top of upper management have taken it upon themselves to take the jobs that used to go to people here in the United States and send them to China so that they can have a burgeoning middle class while we stagnate.
Yes. Essentially. That's kind of how it is. And all for the mighty shareholders, which are more of typically the upper crust.
Yes, the shareholders and the board of directors, and the board of directors is typically made up of chief executive officers of competing companies in the same industry. But there's no collusion.
No, none whatsoever.
There is no conflict of interest that Google had one of their chief executives on the Apple board of directors, which that wasn't long ago. That was only a few years ago.
Well, that was right before the Android handsets came out, and that really pissed off Steve Jobs so much that everything that Google had to come off the iPhone. So many bridges were burned there. That's a great story, actually.
Yeah, that should be a movie.
I think it was.
Did they make a movie about it?
Well, it's part of his biography, you know.
Ah.
So it's in there. Okay, well, let's move away from that. And oh, look, Israel! Former Israeli spy chief rejects parts of Netanyahu speech. Unless you've been living under a rock, Benjamin Netanyahu, the Israeli prime minister, was invited to the United States by Speaker Bonner to address Congress on whatever he wanted. Of course, given that Netanyahu is up for re-election in just a couple months, it is not the policy of the president of the executive branch to intermingle with people that are up for re-election so they avoid any favoritism or influence over their own election.
That's the official policy statement. Really, it's Netanyahu came here to undermine U.S. peace talks with Iran.
Yes.
And it's not the first time he's done this. Overall. I actually did some research on this for a little side thing, and I'll run through some of that right now. He started this whole campaign of anti-Iran in 1992.
It's a good long time.
A good long time. That's the first time that he told the Israeli Knesset that they'd be facing down a nuclear Iran in 3 to 5 years. Then he released a book in 1995 saying that Iran would be nuclear in 3 to 5 years. Then in 96 he addressed a joint session of U.S. Congress and told them that a nuclear Iran would point ICBMs at us. Then he switched gears and changed the N to a Q in about 2002, claiming that Iraq had an ongoing nuclear program and they would achieve success if we didn't act. And that carried on for a while, but by 2009 he was back to Iran again, which we know because of WikiLeaks. He addressed Congress again in 2009, claiming that Iran was 2 years away from being a nuclear power. During 2010, he did it again in an interview stating, "You don't want a messianic apocalyptic cult controlling atomic bombs."
Wait.
That's what's happening in Iran.
I'm sorry, wait. He said what exactly? The cult thing?
He said, "You don't want a messianic apocalyptic cult controlling atomic bombs." And that's what's happening in Iran. End quote.
Isn't that Christianity too, technically?
Oh, yes.
And the whole
any follower of Islam will tell you that they believe in the same God.
Yeah.
They just don't believe in the same Messiah.
Just not the prophets. Yeah. The prophets are different.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then 2012 he addressed the UN stating that Iran would have a nuclear weapon within a year's time. So now we're into 2015. Iran still doesn't have a nuclear weapon, and the treaty that Obama's working on basically tells us that if they did have a weapon coming, we would have at least a year of knowledge, and we'd have the opportunity to say, okay, make a nuclear weapon.
So he's had a hard-on for
Iran for the past 23 years.
23 years.
23 years
of crying
of
wolf.
3 to 5 years Iran's going to have a nuclear weapon.
Over and over and over again. Wow.
Over and over again. And if you look at his reign of power and reign of terror he bestows upon the Palestinians and the way that he treats his neighbors over there, you can kind of understand why he doesn't want any other nuclear powers to keep him in check. Because he, I understand that he's looking out for Israeli interests in so far as they are expanding their population and they want more land, more population, more legitimacy in the region overall. But you have to be cognizant of the local populations when you're trying to expand yours.
Yeah.
And you should try to be fair to them as well, which they have not been, to say the least.
No, we've taken the stance of trying to understand Israeli politics here on ORly Radio for a long time. We're just trying to figure out what the heck is going on over there, and it's so far it's just a mess.
Oh, it's a total clusterfuck.
It was designed that way. Basically, there's no way for Israel to exist without it pissing off everyone else.
Yeah.
Unless they completely change their policies and start making some sort of reparations for the things that they've perpetrated.
I don't think they should go that far.
Well, it doesn't matter. They won't.
They're not going to go that far. I don't think they should go that far, but they can at least, stop some of the policies that are continuing to create massive amounts of suffering in regions that they control people who are not them. Anywhere else in the world, that type of behavior is condemned.
Yeah,
is condemned.
Not reparations like what they did to Germany after World War I. I'm not talking about anything like that. That would completely, almost snuff out the people. I'm just talking that. Why is America continuing to feed them money over and over and over again?
They're kind of our baby in that region.
Oh yeah, they're the foothold.
They're the foothold of American imperialism and expansionism, except it's never going to work.
Except that
it could never work.
America doesn't do that.
Strictly speaking, that is not our official foreign policy. But why do we have 900 military bases that are not in America? No other country in the world does that, except for ones that have expanded their land holdings into other countries.
Oh, are you referring to the British Empire?
Or the Soviet Empire, or the Ottoman Empire, or any empire you want to talk about. Yeah. No sovereign country allows another sovereign country to have military bases in their land. Where's the Iraqi military base in the U.S.? Where's the Chinese military base in the U.S.?
Yeah, we don't do that.
We don't do that.
No. We don't do that. But we're there to protect them.
Oh, yes. Yes. They need us. Because they could never, ever have a military force on their own in a fucking oil-rich region of the world.
Right.
How would they afford it with all that oil?
Our policies are a little bit skewed, aren't they?
Little bit.
A little bit. So anyway, back to Netanyahu's speech here. Now that we've given more background information than we probably needed to, a former chief of Israel's Mossad spy agency on Friday rejected claims made by Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu in his contentious address to Congress about Iran's nuclear program. Now, you discovered this article as well.
Yeah, this guy also, I believe it's the same guy, also contradicted Netanyahu back in 2011 when Netanyahu was giving speeches saying Iran would be nuclear soon. And to quote the guy from this article, which is now, this is today, March 6th, 2015, 5:40 p.m., the time is longer than what he describes, Dagan said. He also rejected Netanyahu's assertion that Iran's intercontinental ballistic missile program could allow it to deliver a nuclear arsenal to every part of the United States. The missiles cannot reach the U.S., Dagan said. When asked if Netanyahu does not know that, Dagan replied, he knows, so what?
Yep, it's a talking point.
It is a talking point. It is also a lie, but who cares? Never let the truth get in the way of a good story.
True. Intelligence Minister Yuval Steinitz of Netanyahu's Likud party told Channel 2 that he rejected many of Dagan's assertions. Dagan has been a fierce critic of Netanyahu's approach to Iran emergency as a key opponent to a potential Israeli military attack against its nuclear facilities. He has said Netanyahu's trip to Washington over White House objections was pointless and counterproductive. Dagan directed the Mossad from 2002 to 2010, a period when it reportedly carried out covert attacks against Iranian nuclear scientists and unleashed cyber attacks that delayed Iran's progression toward a bomb.
If there's anybody who would be in the know,
last week
who spent his career, or the past 8 years of career, thwarting that thing.
Yeah. Last week, Dagan told Israeli Daily that, quote, the person who has caused the greatest strategic damage to Israel on the Iranian issue is the Prime Minister. Now, there's fighting words.
Uh-huh.
Well, I guess we're just going to have to keep taking a look and go ahead and pop the popcorn and see what happens, because apparently the Iranian nuclear program would never be able to hit the United States anyway.
Yep.
But so what?
Yeah, never let the facts get in the way of a good story.
No, of course not. It looks like we're staying over in the Middle East. Shocking.
Yeah.
As we move
a lot going on. Most of it's our fucking fault.
One way or another, yeah. So this time we're talking about the Islamic State down there in Iraq.
Yeah. Saddam had these fuckers under control, apparently. And then they just bided their time until we left. Which, they would always bide their time until we left. If we left 50 years from now, instead of back in, 2011?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, if we had stayed there another 50 years and totally bankrupted this country in Iraq, they would have waited 50 years and then rolled in.
Yeah. Let's see.
Because they live there and we don't.
Yeah. Iraqi army drives Islamic State from a key town. Iraqi forces pushed fighters out of the western town of al-Baghdadi. The town, which was taken over by ISIS last month, is about 5 miles from a base housing hundreds of U.S. troops who are training Iraqi soldiers. Iraqi forces moved in after precise and effective airstrikes by the U.S.-led coalition. Meanwhile, Islamic State was widely condemned on Friday after it bulldozed the ancient Assyrian city of Nimrud in Iraq. Oh, wow.
Yep. They began demolishing the site, which was founded in the 13th century before Christ, on Thursday, according to Iraqi officials.
Easy. Oh, the head of the UN's cultural agency condemned the systematic destruction of Iraq as a war crime. Islamic State, which controls large areas of Iraq and Syria, says shrines and statues are false idols and have to be smashed. Nimrud lies in the Tigris River, on the Tigris River, not in the Tigris River, that would be funny. 18 miles southeast of Mosul, which is currently under ISIS control. In this article, I would like to actually indicate that they are not being called ISIS or ISIL. They're simply being referred to as Islamic State, IS.
Yep.
So apparently they're going through another branding change.
Yep. No, they are. We're doing it right. They're doomed to die. We have to have the local population push them out. It has to be the Iraqi people taking back their land.
It's true.
It has to be. Because we gave them the land. We gave them weapons. We gave them training. We gave them Humvees. We gave them, I believe, tanks. They had MRAPs. They had everything they fucking needed to fight off a force of 10,000 men that rolled in on pickup trucks with machine guns mounted on them. And they put down their weapons and walked away without firing a shot, and they gave all of this up to ISIS at the time, ISIL, and now IS. And now they're watching their cities be burned, their people get stoned to death, and their national treasures are being bulldozed, literally, by this group. The best propaganda we've got for why the Iraqi people should take up arms against IS 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 itself. And we need to let them be mad, let them suffer the indignations. We need to let this happen to them so that when they pick up that gun this time and they take back their land and Iraq is all theirs again, the next time somebody rolls in with an army saying, this is how things are going to be now, they're going to say, oh no, it's not. That will not happen.
Yeah. UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon has essentially said that the demolition of all of these ancient artifacts is a war crime and represents an attack on humanity as a whole. Grand Ayatollah Ali al-Sistani, Iraq's most influential Shia cleric, used his Friday sermon to attack Islamic State's militants, saying they were savaging Iraq's history and ancient civilizations. They are not popular.
No.
They are not popular with what they're doing.
There's a lot of things you can do to a country and do to a people, but when you start destroying their history, that pisses people right the fuck off.
Calling their history blasphemous, that pretty much puts you at direct opposition to everything that they hold dear.
Yep, the local population.
Congratulations, Islamic State.
Good job.
First class ticket to Nowheresville.
Yep. Nope. They are doomed to die. They are doomed to fail. They will never be able to hold Iraq in its entirety. The local population will continue. They don't have the resources to deal with the insurgent population that they will be dealing with. We didn't have the resources to deal with the insurgent population that we were dealing with. We could not make that go away. With the full might and force of several 100,000 troops and air power and drones and spy fucking satellites, we couldn't make that go away.
And yet
they will fail.
What's amazing, though, if you think about our previous conflicts, this is in a desert. There's not really a whole lot of places to hide.
Well, you'd be surprised. There's a lot of caves out there.
Compared to Vietnam.
Oh, yeah.
That's not a desert. That's a jungle. We apparently do not do well in extreme environments.
Yeah. Well,
versus the native populations.
You have to use the right force for the environment. And that's the thing that we don't get, because it's not a purely strategic decision as to how do you go into this country and affect this goal. How do you get this done? Right? Large scale ground troops are what sells tanks and guns and helicopters and stuff like that. But that is That is the hammer philosophy, thinking that everything in the world is a nail.
Yeah, doesn't work out that way.
The Navy SEALs got their start in the Vietnam War, and the fucking VC were pissed themselves at night when they heard that little whisper of the .45 caliber slug killing the dogs, because the fucking SEALs were scarier than the VC. They were trained and designed to operate in that environment. They were small teams that were difficult to find. They were difficult to track. It wasn't a large fucking base that they had at the base of a hill.
Yeah, we learned our lesson. Very much from what was already being done to us.
Yes. Because you don't beat a guerrilla force with large ground troops.
No.
This is historically what you do not do. You know, the guerrilla force can hide. They can be hard to find. They can attack you at any hour of the day or night. You know, it's literally terror tactics on a military. You beat that with a better guerrilla force.
I thought we knew better than to fight a land war in Asia.
You ever heard of Socrates, Plato? Morons.
You truly have a dizzying intellect.
Just wait till I get going. Where was I?
Okay, so we're gonna end up here with a little bit of lighthearted giant octopus escaping the Seattle Aquarium. There's a clip, and well, I'll just play it. Come on, buffering. Buffering. More buffering. There we go. The octopus is climbing up. Oh, tentacles are on the side. Oh, he's going over. He's coming out. Oh, and he's been snagged, and then an intrepid animal keeper is putting him back in his tank. And they're going to put a lid on the big tank.
He's like, oh man, they got me.
Octopus are rather intelligent sea creatures, even though apparently they can fit through very small holes. I found another video of another octopus who had been, I guess, netted, and he was on the deck of a boat, and he got out of the net, and he started to drag himself along the gunnel along the side of the boat until he found one of the itty-bitty drain ducts for overflow. And we're talking a coffee cup size hole. And the whole giant octopus went through that a little bit at a time. It was really something to behold. It's like, you are way bigger than that. How are you going to do that? Oh, that's right. You don't have any bones.
They had to be careful, though, because you get, I think it's the octopus, their brain is actually around its esophagus. If it eats something too large, it can actually cause itself brain damage. So
I was unaware of that. I know they've got the beak, so they would, just. I think the beak is actually the only hard thing in their body that they wouldn't be. Well, is that the squid? That's a squid. Giant squid have the beaks, but of course they're cousins. They're just amazing creatures, and honestly, kind of scary. They're like the most alien thing we have that could come.
It's easy to see how the sailors of way back in the Wayback Machine said, "See that fucking thing? I saw one eat a boat."
Yeah, and you know what? They probably did.
It's possible. Certainly possible.
Well, we'll see whales that have washed up on shore with giant sucker marks on their hide all the way around them. I mean, big, like dinner plate size sucker marks from giant squid that are fighting with them down there.
That's not just giant. That's gargantuan. That's behemoth squid.
Enormous. Yeah, they're enormous.
Because the giant squid that they talk about most of the time is the ones that researchers have found. Those things are only about 20 feet long.
Yeah, and they get bigger. They get way bigger.
I mean, their tentacles are like this big around at their widest part. That's the tentacle, not the sucker. The suckers are still fairly small.
Yeah.
To have a sucker that's this large, the tentacle must be.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Enormous.
Yeah, it's at least big man torso size.
Yeah.
Yeah. Incredible stuff. So.
Oh, the suckers have teeth on them. That's the other hard part.
They have barbs, yeah.
They've got barbs that can actually pierce through the skin.
And the barbs actually like rotate around. They have like this socket on them.
The saw blade action. All right.
Well, no, it's not that. It's just that no matter which way you turn, it digs in.
Oh.
So no matter where you go, it's still hanging on with those barbs.
Ouch.
Yeah, they're vicious, but so amazing. I love things from the sea. It's great. So we're done. We're on to picks. This week I wasted about no, I'm not going to say wasted. I spent 24 hours of my life driving and just wandering around the house, listening to book 2 of the Revelation Space series by Alistair Reynolds. It's a great book. It's Alistair Reynolds. Book 2 is called Chasm City, and I don't want to give much away, but you'll end up learning a lot about the characters. It is a first-person narrative throughout the entire sci-fi story, and it's really well written. It's well done. There's a lot of twists and turns, and you're not really sure what's going on, and it all does get tidied up at the end, which is always nice, I think. However, I made a mistake. I read book 2 before I read book 1 because I didn't.
Oops.
In fact, as I was looking through Amazon, they actually have this as like book 5, even though if I go out to Audible, which is where I got it, I find out that it's book 2. And it's like, and you're the same company, and yet you're still showing it in different places.
I always try to look up a Wikipedia page, or
even there, sometimes that's really hard to.
The author has a web page sometimes. That's usually helpful.
Yeah, I usually go by release date. So whatever year I think there's 5 books in this series, the Revelation Space series, and he did one like one a year. Now it's 24 hours in this audiobook. That's a lot of writing.
Yeah, that is a lot of writing.
That's a lot of writing every year.
How was the plot pacing?
It was good. I mean, it was really quite well done. There were a lot of big, sci-fi concepts that I was unfamiliar with because I hadn't read book 1 probably. But he still continued to explain them in just enough detail that I didn't feel completely lost after being introduced and then having it explained in context to the characters that didn't know anything. So he had some of those shills in the audience of the book that needed it explained to them.
That's good writer.
Yeah. So it's like, okay, that's the way to do it. So it was well done, and it definitely makes me want to read more in the series.
Yeah.
So he also this particular one was read by one of my favorite narrators, John Lee, who he's a British narrator, so he's got a lot of depth, and one thing that's really good about him is he's consistent with the character voices he chooses. So as soon as he changes his voice a little bit to be that person, you know immediately who he is.
Nice.
From the previous chapters. So it's he's just great. In fact, that's actually how I got turned on to the Revelation Space series. Was I was looking for other books that he had narrated. So, I can't. I suppose I could rate it even higher, but there were some little things that's like, yeah, I think you screwed up there. But overall, the performance was excellent. The writing was very good. I did start to understand it, and I saw where it was going. Closer to the end. But I think it was more intentional. It was like yes, you were right. You figured it out, you clever reader, you. That kind of thing. So it was kind of like, kind of a weird congratulatory thing. Like, aha, yes, I know, and then carry it on with the exposition. So there was more rewards as it kept going to the very end. It was good book. Good book.
Nice.
What's Budget Bites?
Budget Bites. So you were talking about Indian food.
I was.
Yeah. If you go, so Budget Bites is they're a website. They've got recipes, stuff you can make at home for cheap. Cheap overall, cheap per serving. So just pull up a recipe. The person estimates that this recipe is $3.95 in ingredients, and it works out to about $1.32 a serving. And usually they serve 4.
No need English muffin bread. 71-cent recipe at 6 cents per slice.
Yeah.
The last time I was in the grocery store just today looking at English muffins, and they were $2.50 for 6.
Yeah. They're making a good profit. But speaking of Indian, I'm looking at tandoori chicken kebabs. That's $1.32 a serving. A serving is 2 kebabs. And this person, they buy the 5-pound packs of chicken breasts. Used 2 of them, gave her about 3 servings, 2 kebabs each, and it's basically a marinade, it looks like. And you can pair this up. She's got a recipe for naan bread,
yes,
homemade naan bread.
You have,
and we have made this recipe, and this recipe is it is naan. And we've also tried the tandoori chicken bites, which were fantastic. We've done a lot of recipes off of this, just doing a lot of at-home cooking these days, and it's
homemade naan. $1.27 for the recipe, 16 cents a serving. I'm gonna get so fat.
yeah, it's awesome. And the enchilada recipes are the frickin' bomb. They are, you will go to bed happy after the enchiladas.
I imagine.
I actually had a leftover enchilada right before the show.
This is valuable, David. This is very valuable.
Yeah, if you're a foodie, I'm a foodie too. You're gonna like some of this stuff.
Yellow jasmine rice, focaccia rolls,
cucumber raita,
quesadillas,
which is I believe that's their sauce. It's not the tzatziki sauce.
Oh, okay. Well, I know what I'll be doing in my off time here. I'll be dragon noodles. What is this?
Oh yeah, they've got breakfast, beans, grain, meat, pasta. For global, they've got Asian, Indian, Mediterranean, and Southwest. They've got vegetarian and vegan recipes, breads, pizza, soup, salad, vegetable, dessert, gluten-free, slow cooker recipes.
I do love my slow cooker, especially once I found the slow cooker liner bags.
Ooh.
Just drop that in, put everything in the bag, put the lid on, you're done. As soon as you're done with it, you just grab the whole bag out and toss it.
Wow.
Easy peasy.
Easy cleanup, for sure.
Yeah. Of course, it's a plastic bag. Hopefully, it's biodegradable. But There's only so many things that we can do, people. Okay. I believe with that, we have come to the end.
The end of the road.
So let's see here. Where's that?
That's it for us tonight. We hope you've enjoyed the show as much as we've enjoyed making it. This is the part where I beg for audience
That's not what I wanted.
Head over to ORly.
Stop it! That's wrong.
Stop that, you!
Ah, where did it go? No, no, no. There we go. All right. That's it for us tonight. We'll be back next Friday. Actually, no, we won't. We'll be back Wednesday at about 9:30 p.m. Eastern Time. In the meantime, have the conversation continue on the web. Head over to ORlyRadio.com. That's ORly. Radio.com for all the links. They're right up at the top of the page, and do watch us live if you can and chat in the IRC. I did see Gecko Girl out there. Thank you very much for joining us. And if you'd liked what we do here today, you can help keep the lights on, keep the website up. Follow the Help Us link over to patreon.com. That's patreon.com/Cowen, COWEN. That'd be me. And contribute to the show with that way. If money is not your option here, that's okay. Contribute to the show with topics, ideas, news clippings, corrections, advertising offers, unclaimed lottery tickets. You can send hate mail and unsolicited advice. Email them to ORlyRadioPodcast@gmail.com. Leave us a voicemail, 470-222-6759. That's ORly. And, hey, post and vote on stories on the subreddit. We do have one of those. And, please go back to wherever you found us and leave us a glowing review if you possibly can. And, of course, like the Facebook. Follow us on Twitter, Tumblr, Google+, and subscribe to the YouTube channel. We've got everything out there. We can't thank you enough for spending some time with us tonight. Until next time, this has been ORly Radio, part of the Cowen Services Network. Music was provided and created by Kevin MacLeod of Incomtech.com. Bye, everybody.
Goodbye.